I am shocked by what is in the newly released report on web accessibility from WebAIM. And that, my friends, is called sarcasm. Because unfortunately, I expected the results to be this bad. First of all, maybe I should tell you who WebAIM is. If you don't already know, it's WEBAIM. And they are a nonprofit organization full of accessible design superheroes whose sole mission is to make the internet more accessible to neurodivergence and physiodivergence. That's a new word. I just made it up. Physiodivergent is way better than like people living with disabilities. It is an evaluation of the home pages of the top 1 million websites. If you're really interested in checking out those lists, I'll put links in the description so you can go check it out for yourself, but I'm not going to get into those. That's just where the data is coming from. So what does this data tell us, and why am I not surprised? Here's a fun fact. In those 1 million home pages, there were 49,991,225 accessibility errors on those pages. And that's an average of 50 accessibility errors per homepage. Websites have gotten even more complex than they were a year ago. The home pages on the 1 million homepage list had over 1 billion page elements. So in 2022, there was an average of 955 elements a page. And as of February 2023, there's an average of like 1,053 elements per page, which is about a 10% increase. When we talk about like the errors on the pages, we're talking about WCAG conformance failures. So the WCAG, the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, they are tested against that. And that's where the failures come into place. 96.3% of them had detected WCAG failures. That is improved from last year. Some specifics about what those failures are, and they fall into probably about 5 main categories. The number one WCAG failure across these million websites is low contrast text, and that affects 83.6% of the sites that were tested. 4 years ago, it was 85.3%, so we haven't made much improvement, and this is an easy one to fix, friends. On average, each homepage on this list had about 30 low contrast text errors. The second most common issue across all of these sites was, you guessed it, images without alt text. There are over 43 million images in the sample data, which is about 43 images per homepage. The average number of images on the homepages in this year's report actually increased about 9% from last year's, which means our sites are getting more visual, which I love, but we have to do it properly. 22% of images on each homepage, which is like about 9.5 each page, didn't have alt text. And over half of the images that didn't have alt text were linked images, which resulted in non-descriptive link text. I don't know if any of you know how I feel about that. Click here. So you can expect about a third of the images on any given homepage to have missing, questionable, or repetitive alternative text. Yay. That's 2. Number 3 is form labeling. I'm pretty passionate about forms. You'll discover this as we move forward. If you subscribe so you can find out how passionate I am about forms. The number of form inputs on homepages increased 13% over the past year. Went from 4.4 million to 5 million form fields. Just about 36% of those inputs weren't properly labeled. This year we're just about 36%. 4 years ago, 59%. That is pretty dang awesome. So go humans, good job. Number 4, let's talk about our information structure. This is about headings. This is one I think I've seen a lot of designers and developers struggle with this one. Headings are the primary mechanism that screen readers use to navigate content. Using them properly is kind of a big deal. 20% of homepages had more than one H1 tag on them, and that actually is worse than last year, which was about 19.5%. So we actually got worse on our information structure this year. There were over 1 million skipped heading levels, so like people went straight from H2 to H4, didn't use an H3. And 1 in every 22 headings was structured improperly. Skipped heading levels were skipped on more than 42% of home pages, which is actually up from last year. We got worse on, like I said, we got worse on this. It's up from 40% last year. And in 2019, it was only 36%. So we keep getting consistently worse in this area. And almost 10% of home pages didn't have any headings at all. None. They just styled some paragraph text to look like a heading, I guess. Don't do that, okay? And the 5th category is links. And I am also very passionate about descriptive links. If I hear click here or read click here one more time as a link, I don't know, I think a bunny will die somewhere or something like that. PETA, don't come after me. I don't actually mean that. I love bunnies. 17% of all of these pages had ambiguous link text like click here, more, or continue, things like that. And those pages had about an average of like 5 instances of ambiguous links on them. So that's the top 5 things. And I'm really not surprised. See, I'm not surprised that we got worse in a category. I'm pleasantly surprised that we got a little bit better in any of them. Now, the report covers other really cool things. You can go in there and look at ranking of accessibility based on things like industry, the top level domains like .gov, .edu, that kind of thing. You can also see accessibility comparisons of pages in various different languages, their technologies and frameworks, and the ad networks that they use. So if you're interested in any of those, I'm going to link the entire report in the description so you can go have some light reading at nighttime before you go to bed. It'll help you sleep. I'll leave you with 2 fun facts. In that sample data, on 162,000-ish pages, there were over 1 million tables, and only 16% of those tables had correct data table markup. And finally, the most errors detected on a single home page was 106,245.